Attention, brave viewers. This video features adults immersed in a spine-chilling horror RPG experience. The content likely includes supernatural elements, horror-related events, and potentially scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy. Well, howdy, friends and floor heads. It is Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I've been pretty damn excited about this. Now, if you watched us play Shiver before, we played it several months ago. That version of Shiver was more emulating the slasher genre. Kids, juvenile delinquents in a abandoned summer camp, and bad things happen. This is very different. Still the same system, and part of what I love about Shiver. But this is emulating pure Gothic horror. You can see to my right the all-star cast that we have here. Everybody who has been on the stream before. I feel like this is like the Olympic team of cast for this show. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all of you to Victorian England. It's October 31st, 1888. It's a time of grandeur, transition, scandal, and contradictions. You see, in London, the gas lamps glow warmly upon the bustling streets. Horse-drawn carriages clatter along cobblestone roads. Gentlemen in top hats and tails mingle with ladies in elegant gowns. They, like many, are blind to the abject poverty and filth in the East End of Bethnal Green or Whitechapel. The air is thick with the scent of coal smoke and a symphony of horse hooves, street vendor cries, and distant chimes of Big Ben. But instead of the familiar backdrop of the urban hustle and bustle of London, we are in the sprawling countryside of Hampshire, with the rolling hills and its ancient forests. The four of you took the train from London and was met by a hackney at the station. Together we are riding in a carriage headed to the Gothic country estate of Lord Randolph Churchill. It's nestled in the mist-shrouded New Forest of Hampshire. You see, the Churchills arranged this carriage, and a fierce storm brews as the night falls. You hear the rain beginning to accompany the rhythmic sounds of the horse hooves and the creaking of the carriage wheels. Again, we're crossing one more stone bridge as we go through all of the different pathways that lead to the estate. Now, there are 5 of you comfortably riding in this wagon's luxurious cab. There's 2 drivers that are leading the 2 horses pulling your carriage. I think I want to start with Elizabetha. Elizabeth, if we're looking across at you, what do we see?
You see a young woman. Her skin is pale. You can see wisps of black hair peeking out from underneath her black veil. She's wearing a black dress, long sleeves, black gloves, and a voluminous black coat around her. So she seems all the blackness seems to make her even smaller than she actually is.
Now, the annual Churchill Halloween Masquerade Ball is one of the most coveted invitations in the higher societies of London. How did you manage to get an invitation to this event?
Well, Elisabetta is a bit of an up-and-coming seer. She has apparently impressed a friend of Lady Churchill, who mentions one of these seances or the fortune tellings that Elisabeth had performed for her, and apparently that was enough to get her this invitation, and she's hoping that this will open more doors to, let's say, the more wealthy English.
And Lady Churchill spends a lot of time curating the guest list for this annual event. She will always make sure to have the most elite of elite and upper crust of London society. She will often try to get royalty to show up. And in fact, we'll see that she did secure a royal for this gala this year, which has gotten much buzz. Nobody has been told who it is yet. And she also makes sure that there are interesting people. So there's not necessarily people who are in upper crust society, but people that are just interesting, so that when all of her high society friends go home, they can talk about the interest. Oh, you're not going to believe who I talked with at the party. And that'll be the buzz for the next 12 months. Now, Elizabetha, next to you, we see a gentleman, Harry. Harry, when I look at you, what do I see?
Harry is a burly, kind of heavy-set fellow in his probably early 40s. Not fat, but just kind of muscular in the sort of just big build kind of way. He's got salt and pepper, mutton chops, and mustache. And he's, obviously sitting there. He's got his hat off, of course, because there are ladies present. And he looks like he's maybe a little bit out of sorts. The bits of conversation you've had with him, he's not a person who is accustomed to going to events like this. So he's certainly friendly enough and personable, although he occasionally complains about some of the decisions the coach driver has made. But he just seems like he's perhaps a little bit uncomfortable with such fine ladies.
And that being the case, Harry, how did you end up getting an invitation?
Well, it turns out Harry is an old employee of the Churchills and something of a family friend. He served as their coachman in the 1870s and early 1880s. Was a good friend of their little boy Winston, and has kept on good terms with Lord Churchill in the interim, and has traditionally gotten invited back. He's again, it's not something he often does, but he always has a space held for him. And this year, for whatever reason, he decided to take them up on it.
So did you go last year?
Probably not. I think it's the only thing. He can probably do it every other year or so. Gotcha. He just needs to build up that internal energy for dealing with rich folks.
So Winston's 14 now, so it's been a few years since you've seen him, and I'm sure he's going to be very anxious to see his old friend Harry. Now, across the cab, we have two ladies sitting and a third. I want to first talk about probably what I would imagine is the most dressed up and austere person in the cab. So we're looking at Lady Rosalind. Can you give me an idea, Amy, of what we see?
Of course, Lady Rosalind is quite thin, almost scarily thin. She's very gaunt in the face, very pale. She also has dark hair, but it's kind of pinned up into these falling ringlets under her massive, wide-brimmed hat. She's also mostly in black, but it's got this brilliant red brocade down the center of her gown, and she speaks fan language, so she's currently having her fan out and trying to keep cool in this very stuffy carriage.
And Lady Rosalind, I don't think the question for you is how did you secure an invitation? You have been invited every year, as you are invited to every gala. The question is why did you accept this? Because I think part of the buzz, from my understanding, about this year's event is everybody has rumored that Lady Rosalind is going to be attending. So what made you decide to come?
Well, of course, I heard the rumors that there would be a member of the royal family here. Always happy to make bigger and grander connections, but of course, my esteemed coworker has accepted the invite, and so I've decided to tag along for whatever interesting shenanigans they're going to get up to this evening.
And next to you, we have somebody who's a bit of buzz in London right now. The work that Dr. Charlotte has been doing is scuttled about among the highfalutin academics, but there's also rumors of just this incredible amount of research that Dr. Charlotte has been doing. There's even talk that she's discovered the secrets between life and death. So if we look at Dr. Charlotte, what do we see?
When you gaze on Dr. Charlotte, the first thing that stands out is she is also in black but whites as well. Dressed, it looks a bit messy, as if she attempted but don't really care for the high society world. And you look at her face and it seems like she hasn't slept in a few days.
Okay.
Her hair is a mess, but it's up in like a bun of a little bit of a bird's nest, attempted for it to be brushed. And yeah, just that utter looking as if she is tired consistently.
Now, I mentioned there was 5 people in our carriage. The 5th one seems considerably younger by size to everybody else and is clinging very close to Dr. Charlotte. So maybe if you can help me, Dr. Charlotte, when people are looking on this little one, what do they see and who is this?
This is Emerson. This is her adopted son, whom she got from one of the all boys orphanages. And what you would see looking at him, it's odd. He is fully covered. He is in a coat. He is in a mask of sorts, goggles, bottom half covered, and a hood that covers his head. And yes, she has his hand in her hand and just gently rubbing it as they're riding.
So as we ride, we can hear that the heavy rain pounding outside, and it seems like the closer we're getting to the Churchill country estate, the worse this storm is getting. Outside, it's dark. We can see every once in a while trees as we pass by, coming from the lanterns that are hanging on the outside of the carriage. We also, of course, have a lantern inside of the carriage providing light. The flickering lamplight creates eerie shadows both inside and outside, and there appears to be a bit of a fog that's forming in the midst of this storm. You sit huddled together in this carriage. The storm's ferocity is making it difficult to see anything beyond the rain-streaked windows, and it smells of like earth and wet wood as the breeze kind of comes in through the windows of the carriage. I'm imagining we've been in the carriage for about 40 minutes. We may have another hour or so to go before we get to the estate. Does anybody break the silence?
I will. Everyone knows I can't stand silence, have to be surrounded by noise and chatter and volume all the time. Charlotte, I do wish that you would let me show you how to do makeup before these sorts of things.
And as do I wish you would not.
You wouldn't even really have to learn. You could just come over and one of my ladies could handle it.
It sounds like it would take me from my lab, which I truly have no interest in going.
You know, you have to get out of that labs every so often, right?
The lab is my sanctuary. I need not be anywhere else.
And that's why you should keep it sacred and spend more time out of it.
She looks out the window. It is good to see you again, and how you have... Interesting. Actually, know 2 of you. but I am not familiar with the gentleman here. And who are you?
My apologies, ma'am. Harry Colgate.
Harry.
That's right.
That's lovely. And what do you do, Harry?
I'm a coachman, actually, back in London.
A coachman?
Mm-hmm. Used to work for the Churchill family, actually, which is
Oh.
doubtless why I'm here in such esteemed company.
Interesting. And you, my dear?
Oh, I am Mademoiselle Niago, Elizabeth. So I've it has pleased Lady Churchill to invite me to so that I may read the fortunes of her ladies friends. And Elizabeth is going to look Lady Rosalind up and down, and she says, "Well, you have a very interesting face, and if you like, I could read your palm."
Oh my goodness, how exciting is that? Yes, please.
This should be interesting.
And I hold out my hands and for your hand, and
I'll hand it out to you.
okay. I say, well, and I trace the lines. I say, well, this is a very long line here, and this line here that indicates that. Well, have you recently met another man, perhaps? Somebody
Oh my
a bit dark?
I do tend to meet many people in my sorts of circles. Although not nearly as interesting as the group here.
Yes, well, and this line here, that means prosperity. And oh yes, there seems to be something strange here, but it's I'm sure we will find out soon.
Actually, I think we're about to have our first roll of the game. So the way that Shiver works is Shiver has funky dice, which means it's immediately a game that I love because I'm a sucker for funky dice. And there are 6 attributes that each of our characters have, and on every die is a symbol for each of those attributes. It's a die pool system. So in this case, I'm going to ask for Elizabetha to give me a strange roll. So if you open up your sheet, Elizabetha, what is your score for strange?
That's 5.
So
five skill and 1 talent.
Perfect. So here's what's about to happen. She's going to roll 5 6-sided die, and then she's going to roll an 8-sided die, which has each of them have a talent die in one of their attributes. For Elizabetha, her primary attribute is strange. The number of strange symbols that show up for her will determine the amount of success. Now, I don't have a target number here, Elizabetha, but the number of successes you get will impact things. So can you give me a quick strange roll?
See? Yes.
Okay, so we got no successes, but you got 3 luck. So there's a couple things that can happen here. When you roll luck, which is the green symbol, you can take one of those luck and bank it. So you have a little luck bank there, and then you can then spend that luck before a roll to add a die to any roll. If you roll 2 luck, which is what you did, you can convert that into the target attribute. So if you want to make this a single success, we can take 2 of those luck, make it a success, and then you can bank the 3rd one.
I'll do that.
Okay, so go ahead and give yourself a luck, and this is going to be a successful roll. Elizabeth, as you're looking at Lady Rosalind's hand, you mentioned the long line. You are seeing also a history of violence. And I don't know what you will do with that information, but you distinctly see on her palm that either she's lived a life of violence, is subject to violence, is the perpetrator of violence, but that is what you read from her palm.
I'm going to linger over Lady Rosalind's palm for a while, and I'm stroking the line, and I look up and says, very vigorous, and it's a bit sharp. I
She
haven't
was my
seen
favorite words.
I haven't seen a poem or a line like that before.
Well, I'm
And
glad to
she'll,
know I can still keep things interesting.
well, it does promise to be very interesting indeed. And she's going to kind of let the hand go and retreat a little bit back into her seat.
Lady Rosalind is a very good contact to have.
Indeed.
So Harry will kind of, lean over to Emerson and sort of, and who's this lad then? Hey? And he kind of reaches out a hand to shake.
Emerson kind of does not reach out a hand back at you. Emerson is a special boy. He does not speak, unfortunately.
Oh, I see.
I adopted him from an orphanage.
Well, no worries, lad. And he sort of awkwardly pats him on the shoulder and pulls back.
I'll raise my eyebrow at Dr. Charlotte.
I'll give you a light smile.
I feel bad for the lad being exposed to some of the high and mighty that'll be around tonight, but I imagine you'll keep a good eye on him.
Yeah, I will. It'll be very tragic.
So silence falls and the conversation kind of wades away. Each of you are, looking out your respective windows in the carriage. Harry, there's been a cacophony of noises outside. Breaking thunder, a flash of lightning. You thought you heard something. Maybe about 15, 20 seconds ago, but there's conversation happening, but it kind of perked your ears a little bit. When it happens again, though, you are sure of it. You hear the distinct howl of a wolf. And with the line of work and the involvement you've had, there is something off about it. It predicates the massive shadow that you see dart by the window.
It's like going alongside the coach.
It seemed to be going past the coach. It seemed
So
to have
fast.
traveled on the road. It was extremely fast. So you might be the only one prepared when the carriage itself lurches violently to one side as something slams in to the back end of the carriage. We hear the horses begin to freak out as they stop. The carriage is now slid onto its side. The four of you have fallen onto the side closest to the road as the horses for a moment drag the carriage. You can hear the drivers up front trying to calm them. One of the windows of the carriage has broken. The light has gone out. Rain is coming in. And the four of you are discombobulated on the side.
Ladies, I think I saw a wolf outside. Just try and stay here for a moment, and he'll kind of try and push the door open and maybe stick his head out to see what's going on.
Oh, like hell. I'm going to go right behind him.
So you're able to push that carriage door open. It flies open. The rain is now just battering against your face. And there just is a sense of movement, Harry, just outside your periphery. But you know there's an animal close, and it's a threat because of how the horses are reacting. The two older gentlemen who have now been flown off of the carriage, they're up to one to each horse, trying to calm them, pulling the reins down. The horses are they are freaking out, and you can see actually one of the coachmen is we need to unhook them. We need to unhook them.
All right, so Harry kind of boosts himself out of the door and is going to slowly approach those guys, more or less keeping an eye on both sides, see if this thing is coming. And not that anybody from the carriage can see behind him yet, but he kind of reaches down and pulls out what looks just like a belt knife from his belt, although it's a little bit long, and the camera might linger for a moment on seeing like some silvery engraved filigree on the blade. And he's just being very watchful, and he's like,
"Oh, sir, could you cut the connection, cut the reins for us in case?"
well, and
you
then
don't
we'll
want the
be out
horses
here
to
for the
fire.
rest of the night.
But I don't want the wheel is broken, sir. And he points, and you see
Mhm.
that one of the wheels is in pieces.
Bloody hell.
And I don't want the horses dragging the cart, sir.
Yeah, no, he's right on that point. So I will. I mean, if I can unhook the traces without doing damage, I will. If I have to cut them, I will.
You can. Yeah, there's, and I think your familiarity with it, Harry. I don't think anybody else would have just cut it, but you understand how this connection works, and you're able to untie. Lady Rosalind, as you peek your head out, can you give me a heart check?
I can, if I figure out how to roll the things.
So if you click on your character sheet, go to your attributes. You should be able to click right on the attribute itself, I believe. If memory serves.
The icon, it looks like, yeah.
Heart.
She's very hardy.
Ooh, 2 successes. That star on your talent die gives you that's a wild, so it gives you a success. You have 2 successes. Lady Rosalind, for whatever reason, you have a much easier time seeing in this night than Harry does. And you can smell the wolf. You know there is something more to this wolf. You also immediately know when you're being hunted. And you immediately can tell, even though you don't see the wolf, you know that this wolf is stalking just out of visual range, waiting for a moment.
All right, I will quite easily pull myself out of the carriage and land on the ground with a bit of a smirk, a bit of a smile. And I'm gonna go, oh, there's way more to this than just a wolf. Harry, yes, it was Harry, right?
Yes.
Of course. It's not just a wolf, my dear.
What gives you that impression? He says, and he doesn't look surprised by the conclusion, but he's very curious as to how you drew it.
I'm experienced with certain aspects of this situation. But I definitely think we need Dr. Charlotte. I'll lean back over. Charlotte,
Yes.
weird wolf out here. Wolf, not a wolf. You'll know what I mean. Come on.
I see. Elizabeth, you should keep close with us.
Should we go out? Wouldn't it be safer in the carriage? And when she spoke earlier to Lady Rosalind, there was a kind of a East European accent, but when she whispers to Charlotte, it's very Cockney.
I will lean to her ear and kind of say, it's best to be with the devils that you know than the devils that you don't.
Entirely true. And then she'll slip next to Emerson and close to Charlotte.
Are the 3 of you staying in the carriage?
I will leave the carriage.
Okay.
We're
I'll
climbing
give
out.
them a hand if they need it.
I will take your hand.
And we're keeping Emerson in the carriage, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So as you come out, Dr. Charlotte, you are getting that sense of movement, that sense of being watched. It's just so hard. The rain is made visibility, combined with the darkness. The wind is picking up. The road is in terrible shape. You can see the road. You see the broken wagon wheels. Our 2 coachmen are finally bringing the horses back under control. But then this hulking wolf makes its presence known. You are now staring directly at it, Dr. Charlotte. It is maybe 10 yards at the most from the carriage, and it starts to pace. Harry, Lady Rosalind, you see this as well. The horses now, they have to let go, and the horses take off. The wolf does not seem interested in them, and it's just heavy breathing and just kind of stalking in front of you. I think I do need a fright check, and I would like it definitely from Dr. Charlotte, definitely from Harry. Lady Rosalind, you'll do it at an advantage, so add a die for me. So this will be a strange check.
Let's see.
Strange.
Yeah, double check your abilities, Harry. You might have something here.
I thought I had something about this, but I think that may be at a later level.
All right, so Dr. Charlotte, you have a success, but you also rolled 2 luck. No need to use it here. You have enough to avoid the fright check, but if you want to bank a luck, you can. You can only bank one of them.
I'll bank one.
All right, Lady Rosalind, you have your success with a strange, so you are all set. You're able to keep your cool, Harry.
Craig, let me ask you this. I have somewhat of a renown among common folk, and I get advantage on checks in their presence. Do these coachmen qualify?
No question. No question. I think this is, and you help me here, I think this is a function of that need to protect, right? That
absolutely
maybe gives you an extra piece of steel here.
Absolutely.
Also rolled a strange. So each of you are able to keep your cool. Last but not least, Isabella, you can hear this beast out there, so I want one fright check from you as well. You get a +1 for being in the carriage still, though.
I was also climbing out after Charlotte.
Then you do not get that +1.
Oh no.
Too strange. So for some odd reason, my 4 characters here are not freaked out and don't lose it, despite being in the face of what is obviously an unnatural wolf. Harry, and Lady Rosalind, you both recognize that it's looking for a spot, and it is definitely intent on doing violence.
Okay. Well, Harry will kind of immediately take a few steps forward. He'll sort of be in that little, sort of crouched a little bit with the knife out in front of him. And it's like, you don't want any of this.
What kind of knife is that?
It's kind of a sort of a standard short dagger kind of thing, but there is along the blade, it's just a regular steel knife, but there is what looks like silver kind of filigree inlaid along the blade.
I'll give a little hiss and back up from you.
Okay, I will note that.
But I'm still going to
not,
keep, like,
this
just
is
move
not the time.
away from Harry and kind of keeping the wolf in my sight, but stepping away from him.
As the wolf looks at you, Lady Rosalind, what are you trying to convey? Anything? Are you afraid? Are you a threat? Are you threatened?
I feel like I'm trying to make myself the bigger threat in this situation. And hopefully it will recognize that.
Give me a heart check if you don't mind.
Ooh, lots of rolls.
Craig's looking to build that doom clock.
Right. So the star is going to give us, let's see, we got a star and a star. We got 2 successes because you also got a heart. Harry, you see Lady Rosalind draw back a little bit from you. Maybe she's not into cutlery. Maybe seeing someone draw a weapon like that might bother somebody of Lady Rosalind's stature. She may not be as familiar with violence like you are. But then you see her turn and step forward towards the wolf. And Lady Rosalind, as Harry's watching this, you are going to ultimately scare off this wolf, but I want to get an understanding of what Harry sees when that happens.
I don't think there's a whole lot of visual to it. You can kind of see her posture change. You know, she's always kind of ramrod straight, but she kind of expands some as well, too. And it's like there's a bit of darkness slightly off of her cloak. And there's just a small I don't know if Harry could even hear it, but there's a growl beginning kind of in the back of her throat.
Here, you see this wolf immediately stop its pacing.
Mm-hmm.
You see it lock eyes with Lady Rosalind. Lady Rosalind does not blink, does not shudder away from this eye lock. It then almost casually, almost movie fades into the darkness.
Ugh. Really thought it was going to be much more fun than that.
Your definition of fun is sometimes concerning.
True.
Oh my God, Charlotte, you weren't lying about better than monsters you know. And she's going to look up again and say, well, that was frightening.
Lady Hargrave, was it? I knew a Dr. Hargrave once in Hyde Park. Any relation?
Doctor. It's not really something that we, Oh, I guess I should say we don't really have jobs. So... maybe not. Sorry, my headphone just disconnected and I can't hear you. Right.
We heard you, though.
Everything. That was great.
So the coachmen are going to kind of turn to you, Harry. I think they've identified your familiarity, and they feel drawn to you. They feel very very distant from class to the other three, and they say, this will be easily a 3-hour walk. I would recommend maybe we stay here. I would expect, I know we're not the last carriage. Maybe the next carriage that's bringing a party here would be kind enough.
Well, I wouldn't suggest hitting the road, especially with that beast out there. Do you have a spare wheel?
Oh no, sir. It and he hits the guy next to him. He goes, "We were supposed to, but somebody felt like it was not a concern."
That's all right. Well, yeah, I think we should probably try and get the carriage upright so we can at least get a little shelter from the rain, and wait for another carriage.
They agree. They nod. They go with you, Harry, and they struggle. The three of you are trying to right this carriage, and part of the problem is it's now a 3-wheeled carriage, right? So, getting it lifted up, and the three of you, the two coachmen and Harry, are able to. You get it up to about chest high, and I don't think you're going to be able to tip this upright.
Bloody hell. Just trying to think. Doesn't know if there's anything around here we can use as leverage.
Maybe if you take one of the broken trees from the storm, you can use it as leverage.
I mean, does it look like there's anything like that around here that we could use to help?
Sure is. Yeah, there's a
prop
lot of
this
fallen
thing up?
branches. Yep. Yeah, if you wanted to, if you had the right scientist around that would be able to kind of help you from a physics standpoint, I think potentially that could happen.
Well,
Yeah, the whole time Charlotte was just watching y'all work to pick it up and just waited until y'all set it back down. Was like, we can use something from over here to give it leverage.
well, if we have somebody to do the math, Harry can apply the force.
I will start searching.
So we find a sizable branch that takes 2 or 3 of you to carry over. Dr. Charlotte's directing, well, you take this rock here, and if we can get it wedged under there. And we're about to kind of test out this process when we see another carriage approaching. We can see its lanterns, and we start to hear the horses.
Okay.
Oh, thank God.
Well, while this is still being set up, Harry will kind of, step out and raise a hand, kind of wave them.
2 younger gentlemen than the coachmen that were driving you are in the front of this coach, wearing the same uniform as the 2 that picked you up. It is also the same style carriage. They walked up and he goes, "Oh boy, you have quite a time here." Here, and the other coachman's like, there's no way we can get forward. There's just no. And he hops out and goes around and, Mr. Caudry, do we have room? I can take care of the coachman here up front, and a man steps out of the carriage. He is probably in his mid to late 50s. Wealthy, you can identify it immediately. He is not dressed for the masquerade either. It appears that he planned on changing, much like I think you were. Well, once we get to the event itself, he recognizes you, Lady Rosalind, but you don't recognize him. He knows of you. You do not know of him. He goes, "Oh, no, of course. Martha, let's do this, gentlemen. Let's take some of the bags that we have here," and he starts to direct move some of the bags. Let's tie it to the back. We can get their bags on there, and if you guys are amenable to it, the Caudry carriage would be able to take the 5 of you and the 2 coachmen.
That would be great. And Harry is happy to, ride on the roof or on the buckboard if need be, if it's too cramped inside the carriage proper. His outfit is already bedraggled as hell, so.
And that probably would be helpful, I think, to give everybody room. So let's cut to the travel resuming. As we've got Dr. Charlotte, Emerson, Lady Rosalind, and Elizabetha inside the carriage. You are sitting there with Francis Caudry, and he introduces you to his wife, Martha. Both of them not known necessarily within the society papers, but you can tell by the way that they're dressed that they do have a bit of money. And Martha goes, You have to excuse me, Lady Rosalind. I've always wanted to meet you. I've seen you at several parties, but I've never. I'm Martha Caudry, and she's just tentatively putting her hand out to introduce herself.
Of course, I'll take both of her hands in mine very warmly. It is my pleasure. You are more than welcome to join me at any party you find me at.
Oh boy! Now if anybody knows who's going to be at this party, I heard someone from the palace is expected, and if anybody would know who that is it you? Have you figured out the surprise?
Have I figured out the surprise? I have not. I'm very much looking forward to it. Of course, I've met many royals over the years, but this is a new one for me. Very exciting.
Francis is quiet. He'll engage in conversation as needed, but he doesn't initiate any conversations. Elizabeth, can I get a strange check from you?
Ooh.
Elisabetta is being quiet and mysterious in a corner with her black coat up. Listening.
All right, you're all... Does not look like we got it. But you do get a luck. So if you haven't banked a luck, bank a luck. So I'm going to give you very limited amount of information here. As you're watching the body language of the Caudrys, you can't put your finger on it, but they are hiding something. She seems more nervous about it than he is. And it's not a I'm having an affair type. Mm-hmm. Like there's something that is unique to what's happening now. So this is not something they've been hiding in their lives for the last 20 years, right? There's something that's making you nervous about them.
I'm going to... Elisabetta kind of sits a bit closer to Charlotte and is just, watching them very keenly.
I am curious, Mr. Caudry. What is your family known for?
Oh, I'm a mere merchant. He steps in. You can see her start to say something, and he jumps in. Because I own many shops on the west side of London, and we traditionally aren't considered part of this group, but and no offense, Lady Rosalind, if you have enough money, you eventually, will end up on a guest list somewhere. This will actually be our first time meeting the Churchills. We're very excited about that.
Really?
Yes. I heard Lady Churchill is just a delight. So let me give you pause here for
Absolutely.
just a second on knowledge that you all have. So let's talk about Randolph Churchill. Randolph Churchill is in his late 40s, has become a bit of a political prodigy. He is trying to lead Parliament into a new type of conservatism. He's trying to bring the Conservatives to a more financial and moral compass than really what the Conservatives have been versus the other parties involved in Parliament. He has become very prominent. There's whispers that the next election could potentially see him become prime minister. But as interesting as he is, it's his wife who's the more interesting one. Now, Lady Rosalind or Lady Churchill, which Harry, you know her as Jeannie.
Mhm.
You're one of the few people that are allowed to call her that. Lady Churchill is an American. She was born and raised in Brooklyn. And it was a royal connection that got her introduced to Mr. Churchill.
Scandal.
Yes, she is beautiful woman in her mid 30s, always vivacious, always kind and very, very friendly. Lady Rosalind, you know this. There's always whispers about her fidelity. She garners many a man's attention, and there's always rumors that there are times where it might be reciprocated. Harry, when you were part of the staff, there was just little things that supported that rumor. But it would obviously never be talked about, even among the staff. They would be hinted at it and shut down. So the head butler would shut any conversations. The head lady would shut those down immediately. We will not disrespect this house. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more background on the Churchills themselves. As the storm intensifies, we realize now we're coming through a prominent iron gate that is open. So we must be now reaching the estate grounds, and we've gone well into New Forest at this point. We are easily several kilometers from the station and quite isolated. As you turn the corner for the first time, not for Harry, but for the others, you see the estate. It can only be described as a mansion. It's got a gatehouse near the front, two towering spires that run up each side. They're like fingers reaching up for the moon. The walls are weather beaten, but they're adorned with intricate carvings and wrought iron. We of course have gargoyles looking down upon us as we approach, keeping eyes on the large circular drive at the front. Waiting at the top of the large dais steps that lead up to the front door, we see several footmen waiting for the carriage to stop. Harry, you're up top. The two coachmen goes, really appreciate the help there, Harry.
I appreciate the ride. I would leave that there till daylight, with that wolf about.
Oh, we're planning on going back, sir. We're planning on going back.
Just checking. And
Give
just
us
to be, well, thankfully you're inside. Just to be clear, there's been no further sign or sound of anything like that.
There has not, right? So that feeling of being watched, gone. That feeling of being stalked, gone. It has been, I think, if there's any tension on the ride, it's been from you, Harry, being ever vigilant, head on a swivel, and not willing to kind of relax. The footmen swarm the carriage. We see footmen immediately go to the door of the carriage. They throw a step down in front of it. They open up the carriage doors. 4 of them go to the back of the carriage and start untying and pulling in the luggage. Harry, from up top, you recognize somebody at the top of the dais. It's somebody that you used to work for, and that is the head butler. He is a tall gentleman in his early to mid 60s, perfectly clean shaven, steel gray hair, always wearing a tuxedo. And he's standing up at the front and has got his arms behind his back and kind of looking things over. You know him as Mr. Stevens, Marcus Stevens. And he sees you and just gives you a bit of a nod. Gentlemen, these people have had a bit of a time, it appears, so let's get everybody ordered up. Let's get everybody to their rooms so they have a chance to change. The party is starting.
Harry will wait for the ladies to get inside and settled first before he heads in.
Thank you,
Goes up
Ted.
the steps first.
I will.
Pleasure, Harry.
So it's a little odd. Mr. Stevens doesn't fawn over you at all. He goes, Lady Rosalind, pleasure.
Pleasure's
Davis?
mine.
Take the lady to her room. He fawns a little bit over Dr. Charlotte, though. He goes, oh, I was hoping that you were attending, Dr. Charlotte. Everybody's very excited to talk to you. We weren't anticipating your son.
Ah, okay.
Should I can get one of Winston's nannies potentially to care for him while you attend the party if you'd like.
He will stay by my side.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Smith, please. Let's take Dr. Charlotte and her son. Let's get them to their room. A young lady. I don't know if we've ever met.
Mademoiselle Niagu. Nice
So
to meet you, sir.
For the first time, he pulls out his pad out of the inside of his jacket, and he goes, "Oh yes, of course. Oh, absolute pleasure. Of course. Let's get her taken care of." Harry, when you come up the steps, and we've got just a swarm of footmen that are pulling bags in, and there's all kinds of commotion. Good to see you again, Harry.
Mr. Stevens, pleasure as always. It's not too forward to ask if you've been having any trouble with wolves in the vicinity.
As you're well aware, this is my least favorite place to serve the Churchills. There's far too much wild around here. I much prefer cobblestoned roads and fireplaces and more advanced plumbing, things like that. But yes, we're always hearing animals out here, and of course, Lord Churchill likes to go hunting. Now, as far as wolves, we'll hear some occasionally at night. Why do you ask, sir?
Well, a rather big one came and basically wrecked our carriage on the way in. So if you're expecting any other guests, you might want to have someone keep an eye on the roads, because that thing did not seem very afraid of man.
Very interesting. I do appreciate that, Harry. I do hope that me serving you won't be awkward.
Of course, it'll be awkward, but we'll get through it together.
And he gives you a bit of a wink, breaking his face, right? Then it immediately goes back
right
to the face that he always carries. That almost seems porcelain in its stillness. He stalks off inside, and as you come into the main foyer, you see him having several conversations. He seems to be ordering a few things around, and it seems to be based off of what you have said, Harry, to him. Wow. this is a hell of a house. As you come into this main foyer, it is easily 2 stories up. You see two grand staircases on the left and the right, leading up to a open balcony to the 2nd floor. If you're amenable to it, the footman will take you and your luggage to your individual rooms, which are actually on the 3rd floor of the estate. Stevens explains party should be starting within the hour. Recommend that you put on your costume. If you wish to then meet back here at the main foyer, we will of course bring out Lady Churchill to greet you, and then we'll go in and we will do announcements. Can you give me an idea what we might be doing as we go to our individual rooms?
Well, Harry is, of course, getting changed, and trying to get dried off as best he can. He's also trying to find a place in his costume where he can have this knife, because in addition to the bad sign of the wolf on the road, he's also not entirely sanguine about Lady Hargrave at the moment. Yeah, and basically he's just sort of refamiliarizing himself with the place in the role of a guest, which is always weird. But yeah, other than that, he's mostly just getting dried and getting changed.
How about Dr. Charlotte and Emerson? What do we see the 2 of you do?
Essentially kind of the same thing. They're both just drying off, and she's getting Emerson dressed for the party. He looks adorable, of course. And thinking about her 2 friends that was in the carriage with her. An interesting coincidence. And those don't exist.
Usually the 3 of you are not together, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Let's cut to Elizabetha. The butler makes clear to you that you do have a lady in waiting that can help you if you'd like someone to attend to help you get ready for the party.
Elizabeth, smiles demurely and says, "That is very kind, but not necessary. I will take care of matters myself."
And Lady Rosalind, as you're led up by the footman, one of them goes, "Madame, did you bring staff? Are they coming
No,
in
of
another
course
carriage?"
not. No, of course not. To go to a party like this, staff is provided.
Oh, excellent. We will have 2 ladies brought.
Thank you.
2 very young women, plain in maid uniforms, come and will help you, lady, get ready for the party as well.
I'll get all dressed, and I'm going to have a drink from the stash my own drinks that I brought with me.
Excellent. All right. So of the 4.5 of you, who do we think would first come down to the main atrium?
Everybody wants to be fashionably late.
Okay.
Of course. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So let's have. Go ahead, Naomi.
I think that Elizabeth will wait for a while, but she wants to be fashionably late, but she's kind of hungry as well. So, and she's dried off her clothes. She switched into the one other black dress that she has. Dried everything off. She's got a black mask with raven feathers on it, and she looks, goes through a luggage and takes out this kind of metallic ball with a sheen, and then puts it in a little black bag around her wrist. Looks for another a fan, fiddles with it a bit, and then it's like, I should wait. It's like, well, I'm sure it should be right now. There should be people there. I'm not going to be the first one. She kind of leaves the room and looks around like, okay, which way did I need to go? I think I can smell food. And she's just going to go down the corridor, hoping she's going in the correct direction.
And this is presented as a masquerade ball, but we don't dress up as clowns and in costumes. What we do is we tend to obviously dress for a gala level of event, and maybe we have a half mask on a stick that we'll put in front of our faces. Some might actually be wearing half masks, but there's not a whole lot put into portraying somebody like modern times. It's just we're just going to be a little cheeky and hide parts of our faces at different times as we're going. Elizabeth, as you get out, you finally figure out where this landing is, and Stevens is there at the bottom with a couple of attendees. You also see somebody who just takes up the room, and it is Lady Churchill. She's standing there. She's got a incredibly elegant but simple black dress on. Her hair is all pulled up into a bun, and you see this gorgeous gold diamond encrusted pin that's holding her hair up. And you can see in her right hand, she's got a small mask on a stick, but she's not putting it in front of her face. And as you come down the steps, she goes, "I was really hoping you were coming," and just effusive. She comes to meet you at the bottom of the steps, and she goes, "I just want you to know that it's truly just a gift to Randolph and myself that you've decided to come."
Oh, well, the gift and the pleasure is all mine, Lady Randolph. It's I'm truly humbled that I can attend here, and I hope that perhaps I might be able to share some good fortune with you and your ladies.
Well, that would be wonderful, and of course, you're not obligated in any way to entertain or to use your gifts. But it's wonderful that you're here. You're going to meet some incredibly interesting people, and really love that you're here. So, Stevens, could we? I think we'll have all of them go in at once and do a single announcement. Of course, Madame. And she says, if you could take care of her and maybe give her something to. And she kind of looks at you a little bit, Elizabeth. And she, I think the young lady here it seems a bit peckish. Let's get her something to eat if we could.
Oh, very kind.
So you're taken off to a little bit of a side room, and it's a sitting room, likely not one of many here in this mansion, and some finger foods. And they're asked, you are asked what you'd like to drink. What did you ask for them to bring?
She'll ask for a red wine.
And it's brought to you. Who's next?
Harry will go down. He's not afraid of these people. Unless, would you?
Either or.
Okay. Well, I open my mouth, so I'll mosey on down.
And as you come down the steps, Jeannie goes, "Oh, Harry." And she puts her arms out for a hug.
He will give her a big old hug.
You look fantastic. Now, don't tell me that you're running carriages for anybody else. You are still independent, I hope.
Oh, of course. No, I've nothing personal, of course, but no one could really live up to you and my lord as employers. So
stop it! And she kind of pushes you a little bit in the shoulder. She goes, "Now, we have not told Winston you're here, and what we're hoping is that tomorrow morning we can surprise him at breakfast."
Ah, so we won't be at the party then?
Oh, yeah. No, it's far too late for him. But Harry, would you be kind enough to eat with the family tomorrow morning?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Thank you.
Stevens gathers you, takes you off, and of course you see Elizabeth there. I don't know if Emerson can wait any longer, Dr. Charlotte. He is bouncing off the walls at this point.
We shall go.
So as you come down, Lady Churchill has this unbelievably huge smile on her face, and she goes, "Dr. Charlotte, this is really just incredibly kind of you to come and grace and there's so many people here that are just anxious to meet you and talk to you about your work and Um, I forget. This is your son, correct?
Yes, Emerson. He will be like a fly on the wall.
Good. We can arrange for nannies. We can have Emerson. He can play with the other children.
Oh, no. It's fine.
Very well. So I don't know if anybody have told you, but we have the Ashcroft twins here, both Evelyn and William. And of course, William has been, as always, tinkering with things. And part of the reason that we invited the twins, they're an odd duo, of course, but William claims that he has something he wants to showcase and reveal at the party. And if it's all right, Dr. Charlotte, I would really, he's pressing Randolph to invest in this. And if at all possible, if you could share your thoughts, maybe tomorrow after the party, after you've seen whatever it is this man has put together, and let us know whether you feel it is quite as innovative as he claims.
I would be ecstatic to assist you in that endeavor, Lady Churchill.
So she gives you a very affectionate kind of squeeze, takes you to the room. Last but not least, Lady Rosalind. As you go
Much later than everybody else.
and as you come down, she goes, "Lady, it really, really is an honor. And there's a bit of a buzz that you're attending, and I just want you to know how excited Randy and I are that you're here."
Oh, Lady Jeanette, it is a delight to see you, as always.
If the, do you, I noticed you brought no staff with you, but we will have two women that will be attending to you at all times. It is critical for me that you feel welcomed, and that you find this visit so enjoyable that you would grace us for the Christmas party.
Well, I'm sure that if my time here is enjoyable indeed, we can definitely arrange something. Of course, if I'm still in the city at that time.
The five of you are brought together. Very traditional. We've got Stevens in front of you, taking you into the ballroom. And as you walk into the ballroom, you are not the first ones here. The party has begun. We have got what is known, and Harry, you know the name, but I think anybody wouldn't be surprised by the name. They refer to this as the Lunar Ballroom, and that is because the domed ceiling above it has depictions of stars and the moon and the sky. It is circular, grand, and gorgeous. There are tapestries that line the walls. We have groups of people gathered in small little cliques all around. We have a few people dancing because there's a quartet up on a balcony playing for the party itself. And as we enter, Stevens introduces each of you. So there is and the din, and the conversation's din, and you are introduced to the party as each of you enter one-on-one. A lot of faces, many of them you don't recognize, several of them that you do. I think all of you are very interested to know who our guest of honor is. And as eyes dart around, you realize where most of the activity is. And Lady Rosalind, you recognize him immediately. You've met him before. It is Prince Albert Victor. He is the oldest of the princes, and to be next in line were that to happen. This is very uncommon. He is not much of a social person, does not prefer to go to these parties, but he is there. He's got a bit of a crowd around him. Dr. Charlotte, you, of course, see the twins. You have been in the same circle as the Ashcroft twins. They both are right out of Tim Burton Central Casting. They are pasty sullen eyes, black hair, all wearing black. You can see that they are not identical twins, but they are definitely kin. They have very similar features. Both of them very, very gaunt. And you see the two of them kibitzing with each other a lot of, and then the sister will whisper into his ear and he whispers into her ear as you identify that. Elizabeth, I think the first person you recognize as you're looking out over the crowd is, I think you recognize someone known as Madame Serafina Leclerc, or Madame Leclerc. Now, she is a bit of a seer for the stars and among the elite. She is fits in perfectly. She knows all of the etiquette. She knows how to talk, and she is renowned for her ability to talk beyond the veil. Her seances are very sought after. She's very expensive. There was rumors that part of the entertainment would be a seance, and now as soon as you see Madame Leclerc, you know that's who. If we're going to have a seance, that's going to be who conducts it. As far as you're concerned, Harry, you recognize more staff than you do guests. I think the one person that you recognize because of the work you've done with Scotland Yard is you recognize Chief Inspector Frederick Aberley. He was recently promoted in Scotland Yard, and normally we wouldn't see somebody like this invited to a party like that. Normally the Churchills wouldn't have somebody, a detective, or even the head of Scotland Yard here, right? That's a different tier. But you know why he's here. He's here because he's in the midst of trying to solve the Whitechapel murders, which has been the talk of London. As those killings have continued, there's now been 3 victims up to this point. He has been really very active talking with the press, and it's become a very prominent investigation as they try to understand who is slaughtering these women of East London. So as the 4.5 of you stand there, you've been introduced. The dancing, the giggling, everybody's having fun. Let's take a quick 10-minute break and let's find out what the hell's going to happen at this party. We'll be right back in 10 minutes. So after the introduction, the four of you are left as Head Butler Stevens returns back to the vestibule to introduce the next guest that decides to make their appearance. The party is yours.
I'm going straight to the prince. Straight.
Lady Rosalind, give me a little bit of an idea of your relationship with him. Is it we just know of each other? We have talked before. He would immediately recognize you. Can you give me a little bit of an idea of where he falls in your circles?
I'd say that we're acquaintances, but I wouldn't, we've seen each other. We kind of run in the same circles. And of course, when I was presented this season, I, of course, was at the palace for my presentation. However, we've had kind of superficial conversation, but nothing in depth. This really isn't his thing.
It isn't. And as you work your way over there, lady, that you can tell that there are people that want to approach you but don't. You are making eyes. Familiar faces give you a smile and give you a tip of the hat and a nod. But once you finally get to the circle, we've got Prince Albert there. And what's crazy is that the host, Randolph Churchill, is there as well. But Albert is taking up so much of the room that he's almost like, oh, well, there's Lord Churchill there as well. As soon as he makes eye contact with you, he gives a bit of a smile. Now, to give you an idea of what he looks like, he is not a traditionally handsome man, but by no means is he disgusting. He's plain looking. He has a very stylized, curled mustache, slowly starting to lose his hairline. Of course, dressed in Royal Navy, and with medals and all, standing there. He's got his sword, his ceremonial sword, on his hip, and he goes, "Lady Rosalind."
I'll
Good.
sweep him a very deep curtsy. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Say I'll sweep him a very deep curtsy. Your Royal Highness, of course.
I had heard that you were potentially attending. It is, of course, wonderful to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, she needs no introduction. I would venture to guess the most eligible woman of London. Lady Rosalind, we talk often in the palace. Do we finally get to learn who your latest conquest is? And there's
Some titters, of course. Well, I haven't decided on the lucky person for this evening, but of course, I have to be more discerning in my company these days.
And he's not quite as tall as even you, but definitely not as Prince Albert. Randolph Churchill, puts his hand forth to take your hand to kiss it. Lady Rosalind, is of course a huge pleasure. Lady Churchill and I have been excited the minute we found out that you would be attending. I hope everything has lived up to your expectations.
Of course, what a superb party. The best of the season, I would say, Lord Churchill.
He kind of straightens up a little bit, and the yes ma'am, yes sir crowd is like, no, this is a beautiful party. It's absolutely, we could not agree more with her. This is outstanding, Randy. Outstanding party. Let's cut to somebody else. Where is somebody else going? As Lady Rosalind almost takes the spotlight from the royal prince himself, becoming a new center of attention.
I can go if no one else wants to. Wait. All right. I am heading directly over to William Ashcroft and his sister, Evelyn.
So as you start walking towards them, everybody's being very standoffish to them, but you can tell by their physicality that they're fine with that. So they are not in no way trying to engage with anybody else around them. There is a table behind William that has a elegant black satin cloth covering something that is on that table. And Evelyn, the sister, makes eye contact and realizes that you're headed this way. and she intervenes and meets you before you get to William. She goes, "Oh, Dr. Charlotte, I don't think we realized that my brother and I didn't know you were coming."
Of course, Evelyn. And I did not realize you were coming.
Wherever my brother goes, I go. You know that.
I speak as if you are the same entity.
In some ways we are. In some ways we are. William is awfully busy though. I don't know if he has time to talk right now. I think we'll be presenting his latest invention here in just a few moments. Is it maybe we should step out and have someone shown you around some of the other, like the library and things? I can take you around.
Hmm. Hmm. Sure. For right now, of course.
Wonderful. William, Dr. Charlotte and I are going to take a bit of a walk. By all means, start without us. He acknowledges that.
Mhm.
So, are you and Evelyn then leaving the ballroom?
Shortly. I will tell Emerson to just kind of stay by the table. Just stay. Don't move. Don't talk to anyone. I'll be back.
Are we talking the
Emerson. Mhm.
the table near William?
Yeah, like in that vicinity.
Okay. Because if he's going to approach that table, I need to know. Is he going to approach the table?
No, he's not going to approach it.
Got it. All right. So he just is kind of standing there, and she takes it off, and she goes, my brother is always talking about your work. We of course keep hearing that you have made quite a bunch of breakthroughs. Is there can you bring me up to speed on your work?
Oh, well, as you know, I work with. One day, we will be able to extend the human life far beyond the typical capabilities.
And how familiar in your work, Dr. Charlotte? I've always understood it to be more biological and chemistry based. Have you gotten involved with electronics? Of course, harnessing electricity now, and mechanics, or are you mostly dealing with chemistry and biology these days?
So typically, I deal with chemistry and biology, but I am a genius. So electrical inventions I also utilize in my day-to-day work as well. I am, one would say, yes, I'll stick with genius.
So once you answer that question, she goes, I think we should stay. I think you should see William's latest creation. I think it'd be interesting for you. It's something maybe you're not as familiar with. It is quite a machine. And I think it'll be exciting, of course, for us to do it. So here, let's get a drink, get some food. And just to be clear, there's food stations, so there's no dinner planned for this evening, but there's no shortage of food and drink. Several bars. We've got butlers winding their way through the party as people are dancing and talking. Elisabetta, what are we doing?
Elisabetta is going to very kind of casually move through the crowd, kind of being open to other people, engaging her, just kind of drifting through and slowly gravitating towards Madame Seraphine, but not necessarily just, she might look up and every now and then see if there's eye contact or not, but just kind of mingling and not going to engage somebody, but is open to being engaged by whoever might want to talk to her.
And unfortunately, I don't think many people are paying attention to you, which may be ideal. I don't know. But you're allowed to kind of invisibly hover and orbit.
Yeah.
And as you are keeping your left eye on Madame Leclerc, there's a lot of one-on-one conversations she seems to be having, a lot of business card handing out. So she seems to be constantly sharing her card as she has these conversations. Any pieces of the conversation you talk about, she's hawking her wares. So she immediately, talks about, oh no, of course we could connect with your great uncle, conversations along those lines. I'm going to need another strange check from you, Elizabeth, unfortunately.
She's she's paying attention without trying to appear too
Yep.
much to be paying attention.
Okay. So if you don't have banked luck, you do now, or we could turn those into 3 successes if you would like.
I've already got banked luck. I'll make it 3 successes.
Okay. I've got a lot to give you then.
Nice.
There's a lot going on here at this party. You are picking up energies not of this world, beyond the known world, I should say. None of it's coming from Madame Leclerc, which might surprise you a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what your feelings are on her and her abilities, but she does not seem to be putting off the type of energy she proclaims to have. Once again, you are drawn to the couple that saved you on the road here, the Cowdreys. And it's what you sensed before, but now, as you've had a chance to kind of attune a little bit more, it's very focused on her, on Martha. Both of them are participating in whatever this is, whatever they're trying to shield from everybody in the party. But there's an energy from her. You've got 3 successes. Let's be more specific. There's a energy on her, not from her. She's holding something or has something, is wearing something that is more, if that makes any sense. The last little thing I'm going to turn you on to is a guest we have not talked about yet. So there's a gentleman at the party. He seems to be mingling over with the inspector and that group. It's Sir Percival Blackwood, somebody you know of, very, very well-known person. He is definitely upper crust, a bit of a political prodigy, has been working with Randolph Churchill on this new conservative movement. You have never been in his presence before. He's young, he's handsome, he's got a beautifully trimmed beard and very large mustache, in a full tuxedo, kind of dressed up even more than many of the other guests are. He has not bothered with a mask or anything along those lines. You know him to be in his early 40s, but he looks to be, I mean, if someone told you he was 28 years old, you would believe him. Having never met him before, there's something more with him as well. And unlike Martha was wearing or holding or had something. There is something specifically more about Blackwood. You can't put your finger on it, but you identify it. And the only thing I'm going to ask is, Elizabeth, as I've talked about what you're gleaning, can you give me an idea from your perspective how this plays out? How does she identify this?
It's kind of like she gets goosebumps. It's nearly kind of it's somewhat electrical.
Mm-hmm.
So she feels it in the zings through her teeth when she looks at a certain point, to a certain direction, and she just feels her hairs on her arms and stand on end. So it's just this nearly metallic taste zing going through her, and doesn't quite shiver, but it's not very pleasant. But she knows that it creates a feeling of unease when she looks at the both of them.
The last thing I'll give you is one more person who's putting off this energy. And I don't know if this person was hiding it or blocking you in some way, or maybe just the chaos of the ride here. But there's something more about Lady Rosalind as well.
I think the feeling from Lady Rosalind is more a matter of, kind of identifying, like, oh, I felt that before, and now more like, yeah, no, I felt something there. So, and I think Elisabetta is, looking at the three, and she's not quite sure what to do or to. So I think she's going to look around. I don't think she sees Charlotte. She saw Charlotte leave, and if she sees Harry, she might kind of just start drifting towards Harry.
Well, let's have that happen. Where are you, Harry?
Harry is definitely working the fringes and the buffet tables. These are not his people.
Yeah.
So he is not making an effort to seek out or talk to anyone in particular. He would say hello, to the chief inspector if, he happened to cross paths with him, but he's not looking for anyone. He is always keeping one eye on Lady Hargrave, though, especially when she's in the prince's circle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to say he looks suspicious, but he is watchful.
Sure.
So it's
no, I'm just another aristocrat floating about.
But he is certainly easily, found and approached if Elisabetta is so interested.
Mr. Harry, so good to see you again.
Yes, I hope you've recovered sufficiently from the perils of the journey.
Yes, it was quite a fright, but I'm glad that you managed to scare off the wolf. And she looks at whatever hors d'oeuvre he's eating.
Mm-hmm.
Does it taste any good?
Yeah, it's a bit of there's like some shallots in there, and I think one of those little round green things, not olives, but like the little tiny ones. So it's tasty regardless.
Okay, and she'll grab one and have her unsnap her fan, eat behind it.
Okay.
Nice.
And then Mr. Harry and she's going to look towards the couple that they were in the carriage with. And do you know the what was the name again? Sorry.
Cowdrey.
The Cowdrey. Yep.
Do you know the Cowdreys? Had you met them before?
I had not. They were just in the right place, the right time, I suppose. I regret I had never a chance to thank them in the carriage. I hope everything went all right there.
Well, and she'll lower her voice. Do they appear a bit strange to you, especially Lady Carriage? See, a bit off. I'm getting I hesitate to say this, but a strange vibe, a strange feeling from them.
Do I see or sense anything unusual from Ms. Cowdrey?
Yeah, give me a heart check.
Heart, you say?
I do.
Oh, no, nothing. Well, I'll turn those 2 luck into a success. Why not?
So as Elisabetta makes that comment to you, Harry, you kind of look over, and here's where I'm going to leverage the work that you have been doing investigatively for the past few years as you left your work as a driver. There is a nervousness that we see in both of them. They both seem anxious. Because Elisabetta pointed it out, you are noticing that Martha is very fidgety. She seems somewhat focused on her upper chest. So there's a lot of her covering her upper chest, especially if anybody moves near her. So as someone walks by, you can see her cover her chest and kind of turn away towards her husband. So her back is to whoever is moved closer to them. If she was in a lineup, you'd want to have a conversation with her.
So does she have any kind of like necklace or anything obvious there?
No.
Okay. All right. And can I tell, and I don't know if I'll be able to pick anything up like this from one success, if it's like she's nervous because she's afraid something will happen, or nervous because she knows something is going to happen and she's like nervous about it?
I don't think I can give you a specific answer. We're just the
That's
one
fair.
success. But
Good question.
the one prevailing word that seems to nudge at you, your gut
Mhm.
feeling, is a sense of being protective.
Okay.
He has that as well, but he seems to be protective of her. She
Mhm.
seems to be very protective about her upper chest.
Mhm. So I kind of scrutinize her for a moment and nod. And it's like she's got something. It almost looks like she's wearing some kind of expensive locket or something that she keeps guarding or trying to keep anyone from
Yes,
seeing.
it's something on her, not from her. It's something on her that's emanating it.
Emanating?
It, I, it's hard to describe. It's a feeling. Yeah.
Well, I'm not familiar with the ways of the spirits, I suppose. But yeah, interesting. If I may ask, was I under the impression that you and Lady Hargrave had met before this ride?
Lady Hargrave, no, I've never met her before. But apparently she is well known to Dr. Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So,
How does she strike you, if I may be so bold?
well, as a very strong personality, I believe.
It's certainly one way to put it.
If Dr. Charlotte, I'm sure Dr. Charlotte is a very good judge of characters. So if Dr. Charlotte believes that she is somebody to keep close or stay close to, then yes, I will follow that advice.
I'll be a bit cautious around her, is all I'll say.
Understandably.
So speaking of Dr. Charlotte, you are engaged in a conversation. Anytime you want to talk about William's work, his sister moves to become very bunch of generalities, doesn't want to give Dr. Charlotte any type of details, but she is very interested in your work and is asking you like professionally unacceptable type questions, right? Like among polite society within the science community, asking for details about what you're working on and the way she's doing it is getting a bit uncomfortable. She says, so are you exhuming bodies? How are you studying the veil of life and death, and extending life? Are you doing this with live people? Do you have several orphans that you bring into the lab?
No, not quite. And I will take my hands and put them both on her cheek as she's talking. Since we're pretty much past that point of, let's be honest, polite society, I'm like, listen, my experiment will revolutionize the field.
Oh no, I'm sure of that. I was only expressing interest.
Are you a scientist?
Well, no, but I spend a lot of time with my brother, and of course he and I agree with your a genius assessment of yourself. And I would only extend that I feel my brother is also of a great scientific mind. Would you agree?
At 100%.
So she has kind of stationed the two of you on the other side of the lunar ballroom.
I'm going to look over and see where anyone else is and say, I am so sorry, my dear Evelyn. I will catch up with you. I must go. And she just starts walking, doesn't wait for acknowledgement. And she's gonna find Lady Rosalind and then stop before she reaches the the pool of people around her.
Yeah, this is quite the company that she's keeping right now, Dr. Charlotte. And I don't know whether you would be allowed into this. Not like they would restrain you by any sense of the imagination, but there would be nobody opening the circle to invite you in. Though, Lady Rosalind, as you're having these polite conversations, talking about the fashions of the time, and there's some tittering about the scandal this, and I heard this, and have you heard about that? If anybody would know, it's Lady Rosalind. Do tell. As those types of conversations are happening, you do catch sight of Dr. Charlotte.
If I catch sight of Dr. Charlotte, I'll go, "Oh, my dear friend, Dr. Charlotte, us with her presence. Charlotte, here, please."
So Prince Albert goes, "Oh, I don't think we've ever met. She's a friend of yours."
A very dear friend, and quite the academic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I figured you two would get along wonderfully.
And is she a medical doctor?
I will let her describe her work to you. Far be it for me to take somebody else's genius from them.
Oh, very kind of you, my lady. Yes, I'm Dr. Charlotte Aldridge. Please refer to me as Doctor. And I work on people. My biology, mostly physics. Anything you toss my way, I can make it work.
Oh, I would imagine you have seen the insides and outsides of many people. This is fantastic, Randolph. You know how to always invite the best people, and you can tell that Lord Churchill is hanging on every one of Albert's words. The only person he is as interested in pleasing is Lady Rosalind. So what we are seeing here is a very powerful person in London being attendant to both Lady Rosalind and the prince as this is happening. The prince extends his hand to you, Dr. Charlotte, and says, so do you cure diseases? Do you do surgeries? Can you give me an idea of your work? Lady Rosalind here is being a bit cheeky.
Oh, please, we will hear more about it. But yes, I do a lot of surgical work to pretty much, hopefully, in the future, extend human life.
So he kind of steps back a little bit with that comment. I don't think he wants to be nearly as close to you as he was just a moment ago. And as a little bit of awkwardness happens, Lord Churchill goes, "Oh, it's time. It's time. They're bringing it out," and everybody's head turns, and we're seeing footmen and butlers kind of asking people to stop dancing, and kind of clearing the center of the ballroom, and we've got William pushing this table, which is obviously on wheels, towards the center of the room. At one point, one of the butlers offers to help, and he is shooed off immediately by William. William doesn't say anything. He just puts a hand up like, "Nope, you're not touching this." Excuse me, Lord Churchill says, I have an introduction to make. And he now goes to the center of the ballroom, and he's going to meet William there. And he grabs a champagne flute off of one of the trays with a fork, and ding, 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 and there's a hush. First off, I, of course, want to thank Lady Churchill. And we see Lady Churchill off in a corner having a conversation, and there's a right, and people, and she, "Oh, sweetie, you know," she is laughing. All men around Lady Churchill having that conversation. But as you know, we've got several things planned for this evening, and really for the entire weekend. I hope this will be exciting and live up to last year. Of course, as was mentioned in the invitation, we'll be having a seance later this evening. And we have brought in the esteemed Madame, and he gestures towards Leclerc, who will be connecting us and allowing us to have conversations with the dead in the main dining room. I expect that'll be in a few hours, but really, I think it is time for us to show you what I'm told is all the talk tomorrow and forward in London. Of course, many of you know him. I'd like you to meet William Ashcroft. William has made a bit of a name of himself back at the city with his inventions. And I don't know what else to say, but let me hand it over to you. William gives him a bit of a nod. Now, there's all types of murmuring now happening. This is causing quite a stir. It's just rippling through. The anticipation is rippling through all of the different attendees. He's very confident as he stands there, and he strides in front of the small table. And he goes, "In order for me to speak to you, I must raise my voice right now. That is the only way that everyone in this room could possibly hear me. Now, of course, if someone were in another room, I would either have to go to them for them to hear my voice, or maybe use one of the tubes that the servants use here at the Churchill estate. But what if we could communicate with each other at a distance? What if we could hear the thoughts?" And he pulls the satin black covering on this table. And Lady Rosalind, Elizabetha, Harry, you don't know what the hell that thing is. It is some sort of mishmash of gears and glass bulbs and wires. Dr. Charlotte, can I get a smarts roll from you?
Sure can.
Ooh, exciting.
Whoa.
Nice.
2 successes with 3 luck. Have you banked luck yet?
I banked the luck. Can I turn it into another success?
Yeah, let's talk about 3 successes. So 3 successes as you're looking at this. Your physicality is a bit of a lean in, right? As you're checking this out, you are now attracting the sister's attention again. She's now working her way through the crowd as she realizes how close you're looking at things here. This machine is very, very interesting. You can tell that there is definitely it's definitely harnessing some sort of early electricity. We're still at gas lamps at this point, but there's been experiments now with harnessing electrical energies. There's liquids pulsating through tubes that are going around, and you notice what looks like a medical mask, like if somebody were to be brought back and to fill their lungs up, they would put a mask on it and it would have a big bubble at the end of it, balloon to help force air into there. A lot of it makes sense to you based on his little speech here, but what he's claiming does not make sense based on what you're mechanically looking at right now. So if you were interested before, it is now multiplied by what you're seeing. I call it the etheric transmitter. And what I would love is the help of someone. And he makes eye contact before your hand raises. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you, of course, to meet the esteemed doctor." Now, for those of you that are not aware, Dr. Aldridge here is one of the greater minds in London. It is somebody whose work I follow very closely. And Dr. Aldridge, do you mind assisting me with this demonstration?
I would be honored.
Come, please, please, please come. So as you get closer, he says, whispers in your ear, and he goes, I do appreciate this. It is really an honor to have you be really one of the first to try this. I can tell you I've tested it. I expect it to work. If it doesn't work, if you could help play along just a little bit with me. And I can assure you that in most tests, it was perfectly safe.
It depends if it hurts or not.
Dizzy is the largest side effect that I've seen so far.
I see.
Pulls away. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, kind of looks over the crowd and he goes, Lady Churchill, would you do me a favor? Would you walk over by the second bar there? She walks over. And I have to explain, like, everybody seems to be leaned in, like the anticipation that's building here, the excitement that's building. What is this? What is going on? What is happening? He hands you this mechanism that's got several tubes that connect this mouthpiece covering mask to this machine. Now I'm going to ask you, Lady Churchill, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and if you would put your back to Dr. Aldrich for me. And she, oh, of course. Right, she turns around. Dr. Aldrich, I would like you to think of a word that in no way would Lady Churchill ever be able to guess. I'm going to ask you to focus on her, and then if you would put the transmitter on your face and speak that word, only loud enough for it to be picked up in the transmitter, but not loud enough for even me to hear as close as I am to you.
All right, I can do such a thing.
So we see Dr. Charlotte put this thing over your face. And Charlotte, there is a energy. Like it makes your teeth tingle as it covers your face. And as much as you understand about the body, no idea what could potentially be causing this, this sensation that you have. I think William is close enough to see your lips move, but he doesn't hear the word you say, nor does anybody else. Suddenly, we hear a squeal. Lady Church goes, oh, femur. I could hear Dr. Charlotte's voice in my head. She said femur. And William turns and goes, Dr. Aldrich, is that the word you spoke?
Yes. That is the word I spoke.
Was it the word you spoke, though?
It was haberdashery.
Okay. Excellent. And he squeezes you, goes, thank you. Now, I will be showcasing this more and more later. I do thank you, Lady Churchill. And of course, I'm already having conversations with Lord Churchill. He is, from my understanding, an investor. Lady Rosalind, he's right there. And he goes, I have said no such thing. He says, among the little group that's there. And as he seems to be kind of wrapping up a little bit of a pitch, how this is a prototype, he expects it to change the world. He has gotten it to work as far as 1 kilometer away, and there's a bunch of tittering. Elizabetha, Mr. and Mrs. Crowdery have broken the circle, and the two of them are walking not towards where he is, but walking within the clearing away. And you notice it first, but now we're starting to see other people glance, because this is like, what the hell is going on here? They're walking with purpose.
Towards Ashcroft?
Nope, towards the middle of the room.
Okay.
So away from, but not towards William.
Elisabetta is going to reach out and grab Harry's arm and just squeeze it.
Yeah, Harry has noticed, and I think he's going to try and move kind of towards the edge of that ring of people. Not pushing his way through the crowd, but he's a fairly big guy, and he can get through when he needs to, just to be near.
Elisabetta is following him in his wake.
As you guys are making this move, Harry, you notice Stevens. You can see Stevens's face. This is not part of this. You can see the look on his face. You can see him moving now to potentially intercept the Cowdreys. You can tell by the look on his face that he is unpleased with whatever is about to happen. Once they get there, they stand. Francis raises his hands. He goes, "I'd like to introduce myself and my wife. I am Francis Cowdrey. This is my wife, Martha. We have very important people here today. We have people like, of course, the Prince, Churchills, our kind guests. We have Chief Inspector Frederick Alberline. We have Mr. Lusk, very quickly. Mr. Lusk, who maybe, Brian, you ID'd. He is in charge of kind of the mercantile union on the east side of London. He has been a big organizer and fundraiser for trying to help the police, despite the police, figure out what the hell is going on in Whitechapel right now. So not quite vigilante, but they're kind of, he's kind of led his own initiative to try to solve this because it's affecting business, right? But my wife has a few words. Has all of your attention, Elisabetta. She reaches in and she pulls out and snaps and breaks the chain, a locket. And she opens it. None of you know who this is. And frankly, none of you care. And I have a picture of here, and I'm presenting it to all of you. Because as you eat your canopies and drink your wines and enjoy your lives, she is dead. She is dead. She worked for us. She was slaughtered in the streets of Whitechapel. Men like Aberline and Lusk are doing nothing to understand what happened to her. I want you all to look at her. She is getting no attention because of her station. No attention because all of you are too important. Worrying about what dresses to wear and what suits, and she's getting angrier and angrier, and she's holding this locket up that's open and showing this picture. Stevens comes up behind and goes, I need your help, Harry.
Right.
Here.
So he's asked you, he's kind of now walking towards them. Francis Cowdrey, I appreciate you bring, and he physically now gets between the two of you and his wife.
Okay.
Let her finish. This is completely improper, sir. I'm sorry. We cannot not allow this to continue. He's going to try to physically prevent you from walking further. Are we going to allow that?
I mean, I'm not going to punch a guy in the middle of the ballroom at this time.
Yet.
What I will say is, it's not the time or the place. She's not going to win any friends this way.
This is a travesty, and you know it as well as anybody. Whatever protests you're trying to do here, sir, this is not the time nor the place. So I'm going to ask you to move aside. And now Stevens is trying to physically move him. And there's a bit of a struggle now happening between the two of them.
All righty.
Sir, get your hands off of me.
I would like to, as non-violently as possible, basically take his hands off Stevens, just kind of grab him by the arms and pull them back a little bit. I don't want to, I don't want to molest anybody, but I want Stevens to be able to do his job.
No roll needed. You are physically far more imposing than Francis is. So you're able to stop him, and Stevens goes, "Thank you." And he starts walking. As he's walking, Martha says, her name is Martha Ann Nichols. And I want you all to remember it. She's kind of walking, like standing in a circle and just showing everybody this locket. Because as far as you are concerned, and as far as you care, none of you even knew her name. She drops the locket on the floor and steps on it, crushing it under her foot. Can I get 4 strange checks, please?
Sure.
Yes.
I'm sure this is fine.
Everything's fine. But fine.
We know who has a lot of strange. All right, did I get everybody? All right, so it looks like so lady, you did not succeed. You do have a luck if you haven't already banked one.
I am going to use that luck.
What you can do is the next time you roll. So you need 2 luck in order to turn it into a success.
Got it.
All right, Harry, you've got 1 success. It looks like with 2 luck, and Elizabetta, you got 3 successes. Okay.
Dang.
So and what did you get, Dr. Charlotte?
No successes, 2 luck.
Okay. You want to turn one of those 2 lucks into a success?
I do.
All right. Let's talk about what Harry and Charlotte. You can hear that it is silent in this room. And when her foot hits this locket and crushes it, you can hear that she has broken this locket under her foot. And the hairs on the top of your arm stand up a little bit when it happens. And I don't know if it's from the emotion that's coming from Martha. She's obviously distraught, and she's making quite a scene. But it's a moment. And it's a moment when that's stepped on. Elizabetta, you get more than that. When she steps on that thing, something left it. Some sort of energy or presence that you detected from the very beginning that was in that locket has now been set free. How do you know this as you're standing there watching this scene? You're on mute, Naomi.
Elizabeth, it starts, in the back of her teeth, as if, when you bite on something aluminum, and then it just moves into her ears, and it's just kind of this ringing noise in her ears. And she starts looking around like, suddenly everything goes silent, and she sees the locket, and there's this sparkle that seems to come out and I don't know, move around. She's looking at it, and she can't hear anything anymore. And then she just, she blinks, and she just there's spots on her eyes, etc.
We've been talking about the feelings that you've had so far this evening, feelings that centered on Blackwood, centered on Lazy Rosalind, the energies that were centered on what you now know to be this locket. All of that is muted by the energy coming from this locket. There is a purpose to this energy. And this energy, once it has a chance to escape from this locket, dissipates out almost like a sound wave. But then you sense it collecting again and going off far away. Your third success tells you that the dead have now entered and then left the lunar ballroom. Let's go to credits. Ooh, someone had the old Shiver credits going, so we are back very quickly from credits until I fix that.
That's a great show and you should watch it, but those people aren't us.
Those people are not us. But yes, if you have not seen us run the same system but in a slasher genre, it's pretty damn good. All right, let's start with Dika. So first off, guys, thank you so much. This is I wish everybody fully comprehended how much excitement the five of us have had as we've cast this and built these characters. Just like I did with the last Shiver game, each of them picked a bond to have with another person. So all of these four characters are connected. We are not revealing those bonds. We're letting those bonds play as we play, the same way we did with the first Shiver game. So I guess thoughts, stars, and wishes for you, Deacon. This is the first time you've played Shiver.
Yes. It was fun. I like that it's heavy on the role playing, but then the dice also make sense with it. I'm very big on that. So I'm also super happy we have the dice roller because I was not remembering the different symbols.
Yeah.
Just something there. It's just not there for me, right? But a star is when Lady Rosalind was growling at the wolf.
Ooh.
I wasn't sure how we were going to deal with that. At least I wasn't sure how my character was going to deal with that. So that was really good of who's the bigger beast here.
I'm
wishes?
just a society lady. Nothing scary.
Sure.
Oh, so innocent. Wishes. I just can't wait for our next episode. Not gonna lie, like I'm excited because there's a bunch of different little threads that I'm interested in, but my character it's not their interaction interest points, but other characters. So I'm excited to see how certain things play out.
Yep.
Which is good. But this is yes.
Of all the things that we've had on the periphery here, Deacon, this is not about Dr. Charlotte, this is about you. What has got your interest the most, right? What are you as a player? Well, we talk about all these threads. Which of these threads are you hoping we pull in episode 2?
I want to know what's going on with Percival Blackwood. I want to know because he's in a parliament. He seems like a complete. So I'm interested to see what is happening with that.
Yeah, he was the only other source of energy that Elizabetha picked up.
Yes.
Miss Amy, thoughts, stars, and wishes.
Oh, that's me. This is also my first time playing Shiver.
It is.
And it's fantastic. I really like it a lot. I really like how it lends itself to the story instead of working against it, which is fantastic. I am not like super experienced in other tabletop role-playing games, so I get to experience that here with you guys, and it's fantastic. I love it. Oh, my stars tonight. Gosh. Probably Harry. I like how he is like so. First of all, the accent is awesome. I love that Cockney. So good. But I like how he's kind of like the anti Rosalind. Like we are very, very polar opposite people, and it's gonna be exciting to see the way that dynamic plays out. Wishes, I wish it were I wish we could go for like another 4 or 5 hours. I mean, I'm down. But
Mhm.
you know how it goes. I just can't wait till our next one, and the next one, and the next one.
Tell me about threads then. We talked, we know Dika's very interested in Sir Blackwood here. How about for you,
Yeah.
Amy, the player? What threads are you most interested in pulling?
That is a really good one, but I actually want to know more about Elizabeta.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeta. I'll get it eventually. I'm very excited to learn more about that. Because Dr. Charlotte and I know each other. That's fine. You know, Harry, I know his type. Elizabeta, I don't know. I don't know anyone like her. I've been to a few, you know, not Amy, but Lady Rosalind has been probably to a couple of seances before. But for somebody who might actually be telling the truth and not just a charlatan,
Mm-hmm.
that's really exciting. Really exciting. I can't wait to see what happens.
Charlatan.
That's my thing.
So, for those of you watching, there is a mechanic that we have not engaged with yet. It's right below me on your screen, and that is that clock that you see, this doom clock. It's one of the things that I love about Shiver. There is a 4 spots on the clock. We've got quarter after, which is at the 15-minute mark. We've got half past at 30 minutes, and then a quarter of at 45 minutes. And you can see that there's several dots to be filled in. And we will fill in those dots when at some point one of two things happens. One, if we have fright checks, which will start a fright check at the beginning of episode 2. If a character fails a fright check, then it fills in one of those dots. Also, any other roll that's failed but generates a strange symbol will generate a dot for each of those strange symbols. Now, there mechanically may be other things that could cause that to fill up, but those are the two main things. Sometimes there'll be abilities that the weird character will have that would also potentially trigger that as well. But what's key is at quarter past, I have something that's going to happen that's going to make things worse. And then at half past, I've got another thing that's going to happen that's going to be much worse than what happens at quarter after. At quarter of, it's really going to get bad. So if they get to that quarter,
it's worse than that.
Yeah, it gets a quarter of, it's going to be worse than that. And I'll tell you, when it gets to the top to midnight, things don't necessarily look good for our 4 characters. The event that happens there is no bueno. But we haven't had that happen. Now, if you go back and watch our play of Shiver for this, like, I think that they'd already hit like way past quarter after. They were almost right on the brink of half past by the first session. So credit to you guys for your roles on that. But be very interesting to see as that starts to fill up. All right, Brian, thoughts, stars, and whistles.
Well, you know I love a good horror game, and I'm really enjoying this. I am I'm worried about saying this, but I'm really anxious to see what happens with the Doom Clock. Because that is one of the really cool mechanisms of this game. I also want to clarify that when Craig says the weird character, there's actually a mechanical definition of a weird character, because we're all weird characters, let's be clear. But yeah, I'm having a great time with this. You know, obviously this is a great table and everybody's you know, doing a great time. I can't wait to see these characters get to know each other. My star, I think, is probably going to go to Dika tonight, because there's just something about having a character. Because I mean, Harry is, you know, not of this society, but you know, he knows to doff his cap and say polite things and do that kind of thing. But Dr. Charlotte's just like, no, not going to do that. And just the way that she absolutely comes straight to the point is like, here's what I'm going to do, and you can deal with it. And I love that in this environment.
Yeah, it's been, I don't think I've had a sense of how Dika was going to inhabit Dr. Charlotte. I've already loved her decisions. I already love who she's becoming. Especially because, to your point, Brian, it's a neat contrast, I think. For you. All right. So wishes?
I'm going to echo everybody else and say, I wish we were playing again sooner.
What thread are you most interested in pulling next session?
Gosh, I mean, you've set up so many beautiful things here, Craig. Honestly, I really want Harry to learn what's going on with Lady Rosalind. I think that's, I mean, at the moment, that's the most threatening thing he's seen.
True.
So there's certainly going to be a certain amount of, yes, there's obviously other threats we need to do, but I'm always keeping one eye on her, and I'm really interested to see how that evolves as our previously established bond gets explored.
Well,
Me
and I
too. I
think it's
can't wait.
yeah, and I think it's important too for us to remember as we watch play here that everything I described, that pretty big event that just occurred, only Elizabetha has recognized this, right? We had the hairs on the back of Dr. Charlotte and Harry's arms stand up
Mhm.
a little bit. Lady Rosalind is very busy with other things, but I think I agree with you, Brian, that like you would have no awareness other than this was just a garish show
Mhm.
that they put on it. It's doubtful they'll be spending the evening once Stevens gets to them. All right, last but not least, Naomi, thoughts, stars, and wishes.
Well, this is for me also the first time playing Shiver. I'm really enjoying it. Goes without saying. I think my star is just all, well, you, Craig, and what you've created here. Because I'd say, also everybody's anticipating what's going to be happening with the Ashcroft, and I'm sitting for it. I want to know as well. So it's all. It's a really nice pacing and slow. We got the wolf, but hey, no bloodshed, etc. So, and now, yeah, just looking forward to the next session. So, yeah.
And what thread are you most interested in, Naomi?
Well, it's not a thread that I would be pulling, but I'm really intrigued by how Evelyn was trying to get Charlotte away from the experiment, and then how her brother was like, "Oh, hey, Charlotte, can you participate in the experiment?" So I'm really intrigued about what's going on there.
Yeah, they're an interesting sibling matchup for sure, and I'll be interested to see how much of it we get to truly understand. All right, for those of you that are watching live, this is one of the largest live audiences we've ever had on the channel. So first off, I appreciate everybody coming in and tuning in and watching this. If you're at all enjoyed this, we've got a ton of actual plays on the channel that you can watch. That includes each of these. And in fact, I think let's see, Naomi, how many games have you played with me now?
4 or 5, I think.
I think we're at 4 or 5,
Yeah.
Brian. About
Oh
the same.
gosh, probably about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you've run 2 of them, right? When we currently are running Trail of Cthulhu.
I've run 3 technically.
That's right, Delta
There
Green.
was the Delta Green, the Call of Cthulhu, the Burning
Oh,
Stars,
God.
and Trail.
Yep.
Can never forget Burning Stars.
Oh, Burning Stars is good. Like if you want good Call of Cthulhu horror, Brian ran a hell of a game with Burning Stars.
With
Good. All right, and Dika, this is how many for you and I now?
I don't know.
It's got to be close to 4 or 5.
Many.
Yeah.
And then Amy, is this our second one?
Yeah, this is our second one. My
It
other
is.
one's still running as well too. Well,
Yeah.
third, no, because I do Limelight. So
Oh, that's
all
right,
3
third.
of them are currently
correct.
running.
That's right. You have the most concurrent ones going on right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to see Amy and I as players, I am not running Limelight. We're playing teenagers trying to make the most of our band, and damn it, her character kissed mine. And so if you want to
He's my
see
boyfriend.
see me get kissed and play, you can watch Limelight. And then Brindlewood Bay, we've been having a ton of fun with, and Amy's been killing it
Brindlewood
along
Bay's
with
so
Brindlewood is great.
Oh, we're having a ton of fun with it. All right. Follow the socials, do all the things. And we'll see everybody soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, y'all.
Cheers.
Bye.
Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.